What's up, my friend? Welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. Today I have a new review from Sub250, another kind of new version of the Nimble65 with DJI 04 Lite on here. Gets 4K at 60 frames per second DVR and gives you that beautiful 1080p FPV view in your Goggles 2 or Goggles 3 from DJI. Now I have some very interesting and great information to share with you in this video from my testing with this. Now, this build is 27 grams, 27.4 grams, everything on here. In the Whoop world, in the tiny Whoop world with analog Whoops, we have recently reviewed one that was about 17 grams. So they get much lighter than this, almost twice as light. But what we're doing here is we're making a sacrifice for having HD FPV on here. And in my testing as well, you want to fly something a little bit bigger than the 1S 300 milliamp. It's getting me about 2 minutes flight time. And typically that's about what Tiny Whoops used to get us, say 3 or 4 years ago. Now we're getting into the 3-minute range and 4-minute range with some of these. We have the A30 connectors on these Sub250 batteries, and these are the 1S 300 milliamp batteries. They also make some batteries that are around 465 milliamp, and they are We Bleed FPV batteries. You can check out their website. I'll put an affiliate link down below for them as well. This is a great battery, and it should get you about a 4-minute flight time with this particular quad, because 465 milliamps a lot better than say 300. But again, you're not really going to freestyle that battery. It's just going to be like a long flight battery. So the cool thing about this is HD 4K, 60 frames per second, 27 grams. It does have some 07, 02 motors on here. They're pretty standard KV. I think they were 25,000 KV. You got a bunch of different types of colors. You got an upgraded frame compared to the first one that we flew on the channel. It broke the first, I'd say, 5 flights that I was crashing it around. And you're going to crash your Tiny Whoops a lot, so you need kind of a durable frame. So it's nice to see that they came out with this second batch new version. Maybe they put some more sort of reinforcements into the frame, I hope. So we also have, what they sent us was a NanoFly 25 2S frame kit. So this is going to be an updated frame kit for people who want to be able to add the DJI 04 Lite system on there. So a whole bunch of new stuff, some battery suggestions for you. And I'm also going to talk about maybe the elephant in the room. If you're still watching this at this point, good for you, because we're going to talk about what's good and not so good about DJI Lite on a 1S Tiny Whoop. So flight performance, and there's a little bit of a low battery voltage issue that we're going to talk about. But in this review, I'm also going to show you outdoor flying. So some of the other reviews I've seen, they just did some indoor flying, but we're going to do indoor real quick. And then we're going to also do a little bit of outdoor. We'll come back to the bench, and I'll give you my real honest opinion on this Nimble65 04. It's right for some people, but maybe not so right for others. Let's go ahead and do some flying, and then we'll come back and I'll give you some real talk. Here we go. All right, guys, let's check it out indoors. Let's see how it does indoors. Now, I was only getting a little, maybe a minute 30 with my batteries. Maybe I need some new ones, but that's kind of how your battery is going to work if you have some batteries that are already flown. But what you're seeing here is the DVR on board, and you're going to see, like, when I start to lose performance, it's just not going to have the motor power that I'm looking for. But man, the colors look fantastic. So again, like, it's definitely not a performance monster. It's not a freestyle monster. It's not going to do flips and rolls and things like that. I wish you could kind of feel the way this feels on the sticks. It feels like fine in a straight line, just kind of cruising like this. And again, like, not any real problems with keeping a straight line. I was able to make some gaps and things around the house, and kind of like if you took it outside to do some tree exploring and things like that, I think you guys could probably be able to get away with quite a bit of stuff up in the canopies, because you can really see good. The field of view on here, again, some people for racing and things like that, it's not great for those guys. So there's kind of some mixed feelings about 04 Lite. But again, like, I'm able to make some pretty cool gaps here and not have a lot of problem lining those up, keeping a straight line like through the house. There's a little bit of throttle up and down every once in a while, and I think that's a little bit because I'm not used to flying this extra weight that's on this quad. And this is where, you know, you and me can get into this, and we don't have to worry about anyone else's opinion in here, because this is just, you know, it's my testing. So I lost a little bit of altitude there, so I decided to go under the bench. Made that no problem. Now see if I can hold a straight line to get through the chandelier. That's good, but again, there I lost a little bit of throttle control when I came out the other side. Now I'm just going to see if I can get it back up in the air and turn it around, get going again. And I gotta be close to the end of this battery. And the thing is, when you get to the close to the bottom of your voltage, say get down to like 3.4 to 5% voltage, you're going to definitely freeze up. And my video just froze up right there, but you couldn't tell. The DVR didn't stop. So your DVR is going to keep going, but your screen will completely freeze. And then when you set down, it'll restart. So that's the elephant in the room. That's the drawback about the 04 Lite on Tiny Whoops on 1S. And they're not doing that as much on 2S configuration, because you're not getting down to that bottom of the pile voltage like on a 1S, where you get, you know, DJI Lite can't handle down to 3.2 volt at the minimum. You know, I'm able to get back to the back end of the yard back here, and it's so clear that I can really avoid even like winter branches. Oh, a little bit of overwater right there. That could have been sketchy. So everything is wet on the ground right now, and today it was like 40 degrees outside, super cold and wet, rainy. Everything's still wet, so it's kind of like, you know, a game of don't touch the floor, molten lava. The ground is lava, my kids call it. Back underneath the table there. And I really enjoy the way the colors look on the 04 systems. The Pro is not a lot different than this, the way it looks in the goggles. I don't see a big difference between the Pro and this system. But this one does have more onboard DVR, which I wish the Pro had. So if you're kind of teetering between this one or the Pro has more SD card support and only like 4 gigs of onboard storage. So this one, you don't have to worry about SD card. You've got more onboard storage, and that's kind of nice. Just trying to make a real tiny gap there, and bottomed out into the ground, and my camera froze up again. So yeah, that is what's going on with the 04. So let's head back to the bench together. I was going to try to fly one more time, but this battery is pretty much had it. So let's go ahead and go back to the bench, and let's do some more real talk about this one. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. This is the quad on the scale with the DJI 04 on there. Props, everything, frame, flight controller, 27.5 grams. And it gets up there when I add the 1S 300 milliamp battery. This is with the A30 connector on here. It's also compatible with the BT 2.0 connectors from Beta FPV, so you can fly these batteries too. The problem is, yeah, it's getting pretty heavy even when you add this battery on there. So by the time you add the 465 milliamp from Weebleed FPV to get that 4-minute flight time, you're going to be weighing down your quad quite a bit. So you're going to be suffering some performance, but you're going to get a little bit longer flight time. So don't expect to really do any big freestyle maneuvers with this type of drone. So yeah, that kind of changes who this quad may be for, because it will put itself in the heavier class of tiny whoops out there. So let's jump into the quad itself. It does cost $229 for the ELRS built-in receiver version. You can also get it PMP, and that's absolutely the same price. I don't see any price difference for the PMP version. So it probably comes with the built-in receiver, whether you like it or not, for ELRS on 2.4. We also have the A1 Red Fox flight controller on here, different than what we saw on the Oasis Fly. It's quite a bit smaller. It's the Whoop size flight controller. It can fly 1S with the A30 in the back. We've also got a single dipole coming off this board right here. And I think the build, this is the cool thing about this one, is the build probably only took me about 10 minutes with my tiny little Phillips head screwdriver. You just have to put these screws through, plug in the board, and the camera snaps in on both sides right here. So that's a pretty foolproof type of build. It's very simple to build and kind of enjoyable as far as whoops go. Now this quad frame has supposed to been updated, and it is a 65 millimeter quad frame. It does have 0702 sub 250 motors on here, and the ones I got are the 27,000 kV. It does also have the 31 millimeter props on here. These are push on props. It is set up in the outward prop figure configuration on here, and it does have 4 screws holding down this top canopy. Currently I only have 3 on there, just to lighten it up a little bit. We've got our power cable coming off the back right here with the A30 connector. And again, this is compatible with the Beta FPV BT 2.0. It's virtually the same type of thing. You can plug in the flat bottom side to the flat bottom side, and that's where your positive, negative on top. Now, if we look at the very bottom of this board, it is the STM32 F411 flight controller, and that's the Red Fox A1 on here. It does have plug and play motors, which is kind of nice. I've talked about these before. If you blow out a motor, you can just plug in a new one. It also has 5 amp ESCs on board. Now let's get to the honest truth about how this flies. If you're going to buy this for $229, you kind of want to know that this is not your average typical whoop. I have other whoops over here to the side that will fly circles around this one. If you're wanting something that flies performance, get the Beta FPV Air 65. It will outperform this one, but you will be flying analog. So if performance is important to you, don't get yourself a DJI 04 Lite version of a tiny whoop. This drone flies great in a straight line. It can do some flips and rolls, but by the time you're throttling up and doing flips and rolls and things like that, you're lessening your flight time to about 1.5 minutes, back to the early days of Tiny Whoop. So on the website, if you look on the website and you scroll down about halfway down the page, you'll see that they say that the flight time is around 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And that depends on the flight maneuvers. Like I just said, once you start doing flips and rolls and having fun with your throttle, then all of a sudden it says land now, lands now. And here is where it gets really kind of disappointing for DJI. And I've been disappointed by DJI before. I can absolutely say that with confidence. And in this situation, what happens is on a 1S, and I'm not really all that sold on these 1S DJI 04 whoops just yet, because I feel like they have their place on 2S, and I feel like 1S maybe not quite ready, because what happens with this system is when you get down to about 3.6 to 3.2 volt, about your minimum voltage on your 1S configurations, this camera system shuts down completely and freezes up, and you go crashing off into the void at full throttle or however fast you're going currently. And then you have to figure out where your drone went. And the camera will momentarily reset, and it'll come back to life, and maybe you could just turtle mode and fly back to the bench, maybe make it back to the bench before it does it immediately again. So that's one thing that's I'm not super stoked about. The camera freeze up issue at the low end of the 1S battery does kind of suck. So that's going to be something that you have to take in consideration if you're going to get yourself an 04 Whoop. So at the end of the day, it is a really neat little Whoop. If you want to fly HD and you're obsessed with DJI, you want to have this in your fleet, grab one. If just you want to fly around your house a little bit and just enjoy some kind of easygoing flying, that's what this one's for. It's not a freestyle machine. It's not a ripper by any means, because again, like the moment you start to rip, your battery's going to dip. So yeah, there's that elephant in the room with these tiny whoops on 1S. So, we may see some whoop come out this year with a different power configuration. Maybe this just has to be a 2S type of whoop, and it's going to get us up to the 40 to 50 gram mark, and our dreams of a 17 DJI 04 Lite whoop may not come true. So analog is still king when it comes to an ultra light FPV racing whoop. As I don't think anybody's going to be winning any races with this particular whoop. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past. But that's my most honest opinion that I could give you on this particular one. So it's for the guy who just wants to get out there and cruise and enjoy some HD video. If you're looking to freestyle something or maybe race, this is not really the drone for that. But I thought it was neat. I love having it. I think it's super fun for what it is. But you gotta tell it like it is, and that's how it is with this one. Nimble65 HD with the O4 on board. 2 minutes to 4 minute long flight times. I'll put that We Bleed link down below for those 1S 465 milliamp batteries. It's going to get you a little better flight time than the stock Sub250 battery. But yeah, so around 2 minutes for me max with this. And make sure you get some fresh batteries too, because it likes a brand new battery on this particular power system. But yeah, check out all my links down below, guys. And again, I appreciate you watching, hanging out, and seeing the results of my testing in these reviews. I'll bring you more honest reviews coming up on the channel next week. I hope you have a good weekend. And I am out of here, you guys. I will see you on the next one.